Hey gorgeous soul, I'm Zoe and welcome to the Oasis State podcast, a space where we decode life's mysteries and embrace the what the fuck moments that make it magical. Let this podcast be your trusted companion on your wild journey of transformation, healing and soul expansion. Together, we'll dive deep, celebrate our technicolor existence and turn life's chaos into pure magic. Hello, gorgeous soul, and welcome back to another episode of the Oasis State podcast. I am so glad you're here. Okay, today's episode is about how to trust the ebbs, how to trust the times in your life, whether they're forced or intentional, but where you basically need to flatline and relax and just learn how to be rather than do. And that is so much harder said than done, especially in our society that glorifies hustle culture. Burnout is, worn as a badge of honor. And we're very, very programmed in this current society to find our value through what we're producing, what we're achieving, and what we're doing. So when we inevitably need to slow down, it can really bring forward a lot of criticism and a lot of resistance and a lot of discomfort. And I've actually just experienced this. I last week had to just completely allow myself to have a day of nothing. And all I did was take my dog to the beach, which felt hard enough, to be honest. But he's a very active dog and needed to be exercised. And I did feel great when I actually got down to the beach and went for a swim. But when just everything feels like a physical threat, and even the beautiful opportunity and freedom that I have to go down to the beach, I was like, but that's fine. I went down and, had a nice little swim. And on this day as well, basically after I just laid down all day. I was napping, I was just laying down, just being, doing some meditations, reading my book, etc. And I really had this moment to celebrate how much self-compassion I could exercise throughout that experience of slowing down. Because like I said, all of us are programmed to find our value through what we do, what we produce, what we achieve. And I've had to spend like a huge chunk of my deconditioning journey rewriting that story, because we are not robots. And especially as women, we live cyclically, and we have 4 different inner seasons within our monthly cycle where we have different hormones available to us. We have different neurotransmitters that are being released, and we have different levels of energy available to us every single week. And I think back to versions of Zoz, I'm Zoz, when I was in my 20s, and I did 2 university degrees. I've got a degree in exercise science and a degree in marine biology. So in the very competitive, very logical, very masculine scientific space. And I remember I would have weeks where I'd be like on top of all of my lectures, and I'd do all the extra readings, and I'd just be absolutely killing it. And then like 2 weeks later, I just seriously could not keep up. And now upon reflection, I'm realizing that I didn't understand myself as the cyclical being and woman that I am. And in those weeks where I'm like kicking all these goals was probably when I was ovulating and I had all of this energy and hormones and everything available to me. And then in the weeks where I was just really down in the dumps and couldn't keep up with the pace of life, that would have probably been when I was in my luteal or on my period. So having my active like bleed. And I just didn't know that stuff. So but I would go through this cycle of self-loathing and like, oh, why can't I be consistent? Why can't I keep showing up? A few weeks ago, I could keep on top of my lectures and now I can't. What is going on? And it's just been through my self-discovery journey that I've realized that was probably me moving through my cycles completely unaware. And I just, if I have a daughter, she's going to know from the moment she gets her bleed how to live cyclically. And even like I'm 34 now and I've had my period for 20 years. Jesus Christ. I didn't realize that. But I'm still in the process of learning how to live cyclically. But basically, especially as women, we are not robots. We are living cyclically in this society that runs off a circadian rhythm. And as women, we live on an infradian rhythm, which is basically explaining the monthly cycle that we go through. And then we're living in a society that lives on the circadian rhythm. So over a 24-hour cycle is meant to be an indication of our consistency. And as women, we just cannot keep up with that. We are literally in a society that is setting us up to fail. And I'm not saying this like, let's all get angry and feel disempowered, but I I'm just saying that to help with the self-compassion piece of like, if you need to ebb, so there's ebbing and flowing. So our energy can flow, our creativity, inspiration, motivation, energy, all of it can flow. And then we have necessary moments and periods of time or a day, however long it is, where we need to ebb. And I have had to be so conscious and aware on my journey over the last however many years of being compassionate and loving with myself when I inevitably need to let my energy ebb. And I was doing this last week and I was like, yes, I was celebrating how far I've come on this journey. Because like I said, there's Zoz from, 10 years ago when she's studying at uni, just hustling, pushing herself. And then also completely rejecting myself and beating myself up when I inevitably couldn't be consistent. But the thing is I didn't realize that my version of consistency is different to how it is portrayed in current society. And every woman's idea and level of consistency is different to how it is celebrated and portrayed in society. So again, not a way to disempower you, but just a way to help you learn and build more self-trust. Because if you're trying to keep up with society, you will burn out. You will feel disempowered. You will feel confused. You will feel anxious because you are operating through an energetic lens that is, one, not healthy, and two, unnatural for you as a woman. So yeah, it was really a beautiful moment to celebrate how far I had come. And now I'm sitting here today, a few days after I've let myself ebb. Like I said, I was just reading my book and napping all day. And then also throughout this ebb, I didn't do any work because it was also my birthday. So I didn't have any plans for, I'm going to do this work at this time and then celebrate my birthday on this day, etc. I basically didn't have any time to pick up the laptop. So it was sort of like the first day of ebbing, of just literally letting myself be. And then I had a few days after that where I was socializing and resting up and everything. And it's actually given me a few days to ebb and a few days to just be the beautiful, amazing queen that I am and not produce anything. And in that time, I've had to really sit with any negative self-talk that comes up because I am basically reconditioning the story that my worthiness equals my output and my worthiness equals what I achieve and what I do. So through this period of ebbing, I am able to recondition myself and practice self-love through the ebb of I am just as worthy today when I am napping in bed and reading my fantasy novel as I am on the days like today when I have had a few days to ebb and now I'm absolutely oozing energy and inspiration. And in the last few hours, I've been able to batch record the podcast for the next month of this podcast, which means that I can be consistent and showing up for you guys. And every Monday, there is an episode available for you guys. But I would not have been able to have and access this energy and inspiration and motivation to record in this way and just really step into that higher space of productivity if I had not allowed myself to ebb. But also, I have had experiences in the past where I've had no choice but to ebb, as in just being so physically tired or having my period, or the forced ebbs as well is when our body gets sick. It's when it's like you have not taken your sovereign ability to choose to rest for long enough now that I am forcing you to rest through sickness because I need to reset. I need to recalibrate. So that's your body telling you that. So I've had forced rest and I've had seasons of ebbing obviously before last week, but the key difference in when I had to inevitably ebb, whether it was forced or I just physically could not push myself anymore, I would sit in this state of guilt and self-criticism and just a very judgmental, low vibrational place, even though I had no choice but to ebb and relax and just learn how to be. But it was just so beautiful and potent for me last week, realizing that that was probably the first ebb that I've ever had where I had the self-worth and compassion and love to be like, I'm going to choose to love myself through this ebb. I'm going to choose to feel no resistance, no self-judgment towards myself, no shame, none of those low vibrational things that just get me further away from alignment while I'm in this ebb, because this ebb is so necessary. And mind you, at the time that I'm recording this, it is mid-February in 2025. And the amount of things that I have shifted in the last month, like emotionally and all of the mindset work that I'm doing, like I am evolving at a rate that is just absolutely insane. So of course I'm going to have these physical moments of needing to integrate because as a holistic being, I am pushing on my limiting beliefs at all time and shifting them back to a place of love, which takes energy. And I am leaning into my emotional triggers and transmuting them from the lowest expression back to the highest, most constructive expression. Of course, that is going to take energy. Do you know what I mean? So when I finally woke up that day and I felt so tired, I was like, well, fair enough, because I've been able to access this level of self-love now where I'm like, rather than believing the story of I am only worthy when I am doing something, so when I inevitably can't do something, that's an invitation to reject myself and beat myself up. I've accessed this frequency now where I'm like, well, duh, of course I'm probably tired because I have been doing the work. And on top of the inner work, I have been channeling that inner work into my business and showing up more consistently in my business than I ever have. And recording podcasts, and I'm researching how to get out there in the world, and I'm being consistent online and social media. So it's not just the inner work that has caused me to need to relax. I've also been outwardly productive and putting myself out there, but finally from a place of alignment. But of course, the whole message of this episode is I'm not a robot, so I can't keep functioning at that level in this inner work and in this productive space in my business. And then on top of that, I'm looking after my dog and cleaning my house and doing groceries and eating well and seeing my friends. Like, all of this stuff is taking energy from me, and not in a deprecating way. That's just what life is. But there's an exchange of energy at all time. But so that's why the ebbs are important and necessary. But when we inevitably have the ebb, then we go into this state of rejecting it. It's just so backwards and unconstructive. And I'm not saying it to make you feel bad. Like I said, I literally have only been able to access a complete space of acceptance for ebbing last week. But it was such a shift, and that's a credit to all of the inner work that I've been doing. And it was just such a beautiful experience of feeling that physical exhaustion, not feeling it as a threat, not trying to label it as what have I done wrong, where am I not meeting, my needs enough. I was just such in a space of well, yeah, I probably am really exhausted. So that was a really exciting experience. And I just wanted to come on to this episode and channel that wisdom into this space, because I know there are so many of us that are still operating from that frequency of my worthiness is proportionate to what I am doing, what I am achieving, what I am producing, what am I putting out there. And then as women, it's how am I showing up for the people around me? That's where we put our self-worth. But on those days where you inevitably need to ebb and just be a little fairy, read your book, lay in bed, whatever your version of resting is, start being aware, and the next time you need that, of what your inner dialogue is like when you are doing that. Because mine has always been notoriously negative. My negative self-talk used to go through the roof when I was ebbing, and I would be relaxing but stressfully. You know what I mean? I'm sure you can really resonate with that experience. But thankfully, last week I was able to finally come to this place of and it's building self-trust. That's what I'm doing. I woke up and I was rather than seeing my exhaustion as an invitation to see how much further I can push myself, I am going to trust that I am going to work with what is available to me. And today there's not much available to me. I'm not feeling much energy right now. I'm not feeling much inspiration. But by trusting that I'm just going to work with what's available to me that day, I'm sending a message to myself and to the universe that I trust that this ebb and this lower energy and lower and limited access to all of those high vibrational things is a temporary experience. And I trust that the inspiration, the energy, the motivation will come back. And through building that self-trust last week, it has come back. Like I said, now I am a bull out of the fucking gates. I'm sitting here batch recording content, and I'm going to work on all this stuff this afternoon. And it's not, and even if you don't have this big wave of energy afterwards, it might just come as inspiration. It might just come as more motivation to lean into your self-care practices. But I'm just saying, be mindful that when you set that intention to ebb and you're building that self-trust, you're not setting up this condition of oh, I will relax now because I'll be productive later. It is either side of the coin, but just be careful that you're not setting up this condition oh, I'm only relaxing because I know I'll be productive later. It's the only thing that is real right now is the present moment. And when I tap into myself and trust the messages that my mind, body, soul, emotions are sending me, and trusting that they are sending me the message that I am at capacity right now, that you can relax and ebb. And then that inevitably the sorry, I just got distracted by a notification on my laptop. That you trust that the productivity will come back. And I just, like I said, I want you to be really mindful of not setting that intention that, oh, it will come back in a few days. Because I have been really deep on my healing journey over the last few years, and my ebbs have had to last for like months at a time. And it is really traumatizing because in a world that is so fast paced and so stimulating, my need for months and months on end to just rest and ebb and do that really fucking deep inner work and that really deep shadow work, it feels really traumatizing because your life is standing still and everyone else is moving forward. So, but I suppose now reflecting on having those longer times needing to ebb and realizing that I wasn't using the ebb to the best of my ability because I was just beating myself up. And that's fine. You have to experience the discomfort of misalignment to come to identify what alignment is for you. So I'm not criticizing past versions of myself, but just reflecting on, I love that experiencing that and realizing that beating myself up for needing those deeper ebbs that weren't just a few days was not constructive for me. And then when I woke up the other day and was able to trust in the ebb, I was able to go straight to a place of compassion and trust and alignment with that energy, because I suppose I've experienced the misalignment of trying to push myself further, you know. So that's really exciting. And like I said, for me, what I really notice is when I hit this ebb is that for some reason it's like this invitation to try and push myself even further. And that's because it's reinforced in society. Like, we wear burnout as a badge of honor. And as I mentioned, I've studied in and worked in 2 scientific communities which are very competitive and very old school. So it was drilled into me to wear burnout and stress and you know, hustle culture as a badge of honor. So my deconditioning journey through learning to trust my ebbs has been coming back to, when I feel the exhaustion, it is not an invitation to keep pushing. It is a sign that my body, mind, soul, holistic being is asking for stillness. And not to fear that, not to see that as something wrong, just seeing that as a sign that, oh, that's right, I'm actually a human being with inner seasons. So, you know, summer, winter, autumn, spring. And when I was going through those deeper needs for ebbs, like months and months on end, I'm processing the grief of my dad. I'm just, the whole way that I'm relating to the world is being flipped on its head because I'm in like the deepest spiritual cocoon ever. That was an inner winter for me. And I did realize that at the time, but it was still really painful. But through sitting with that discomfort and choosing to love myself either way, I've been able to come to this place where regardless of what I'm doing, I can still love myself. And that's what I mean when it's like, if you're needing to ebb and you're feeling that negative self-talk, it's an invitation to look at that limiting belief that you are only worthy in proportion to what you're putting out there in the world. And I've been on this huge self-love journey where I'm choosing to love myself even when I'm exhausted. I'm choosing to love myself even when I don't move forward with my business that day. And who's to say we're not moving forward because we're not taking physical action in this 3D reality? Just because I didn't record a podcast over those few days that I was ebbing doesn't mean that on an energetic quantum level, I am not moving forward. Do you know what I mean? Like, this learning to trust the ebbs is that self-love journey, and learning to love every version of yourself, and learning to love the fact that you are a human being with waves of energy that need to ebb and flow. And by learning to trust those, you're building more self-love as well, because you're like, I am trusting that I am working with the resources, inner and outer, that are available to me today, and then I'll check in tomorrow. And as I rest, it's like building up my battery pack, and then I can come back to some energy. And like I said, it's just been a few days of an ebb for me, and now I'm on fire, but it's not always going to be like that. Because when I was in those deeper inner winters and needing to ebb for months on end, you just want to get out of that dissociation and that discomfort so bad, but your resistance to it just means that you're going to get more exhausted, you know? So that's where trusting the ebb is your self-love journey. And then I was going to make another point about the self-love. Not self-love, the ebbing journey. No, it's gone. Sorry, guys, because I was trying to really set the point about self-love. And maybe that's the main point of learning to trust the ebbs. But yeah, shit, I can't remember that other point. Oh well, maybe that's a sign to end it here. But yes, I just want you guys to, next time you're feeling the ebb, or if you feel like you have been pushing through the need to ebb, is to just trust it and surrender to the ebb and trust that the clarity, the energy, the inspiration will all come back through once you have allowed yourself to ebb, because you need to block out all the head noise, block out all the noise from society, from emails coming through from your boss and social media stuff where you can get into unhealthy comparisons, etc. And just trust yourself. When you need to ebb and experience just a flatlining experience of resting and recalibrating, that's also, that's a huge sign that clarity is going to come your way and that you need to integrate what you've already experienced. Because like I said, when I was like realizing last week that I needed to relax, I was like, oh, well, yeah, I have been doing a lot of inner work and I have been leaning into my emotional triggers and I've been shifting my mindset. And by learning to ebb and trusting the ebb, that is me appreciating that I am integrating everything that I've shifted. Because when you're doing that inner work, it's like muddying up that inner water in your inner being, and it can be a very, not dysregulating, but it can feel like what's up, what's down, oh my God, and it can feel really confusing. So if you're feeling a need, intuitive need to ebb, or you're physically tired, just trust that that is an indication that you need to integrate everything that you've shifted, and just trusting that, because we are holistic beings. So your physical health and intelligence, which is mastered by your nervous system, but it is just your body in general, it needs to catch up. It has this lagging experience that comes along with, things that move in the ether faster and they move in the quantum faster. So you can be shifting your mindset and moving those emotions, but it takes a little bit for your body to catch up. So when you're needing an ebb, that's an encouraging sign that you need to integrate what you've gone through. And if you just if you just surrender and allow the integration to happen, I promise you that the clarity, the inspiration, the motivation, energy, all of those things, alignment, etc., will come back to you. But if you keep kicking and screaming and beating yourself up about the ebb is going to take longer, So yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. If this episode has resonated with you, I would really, really love if you could subscribe to the Oasis State podcast. If you could share this episode with a friend that you think could help them, and leave a comment as well. I would love to start connecting with my Oasis State community a little bit more. Because it's just really going to help me in my mission to get these episodes in the ears of more beautiful women out there that are feeling disempowered and want to move into their natural state of empowerment and alignment, because I am here to activate every woman into the beautiful, aligned, authentic queen that they are. So your support with this podcast can help me reach a wider audience of women that need this help as well. So thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you on the next episode. Hey, beautiful soul. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Oasis State podcast. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend. It means the world to me knowing that everyone who needs this medicine and magic can lovingly receive it. Also, I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to reach out via social media, my website, or email. Can't wait to connect, and until then, sending you heaps of love.